Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our 2015 Subaru Forester wheel bearing replacement. And we replaced the other side using just what hand tools we had and every other tool that we could find in the shop, and it didn't go well. Hopefully in this part 2 video, we're going to use a new tool. It's new to me, but it's been out for a while. And we're going to try to use what they say works best, and hopefully it does. And it's an experiment for me, but hopefully it'll save you guys the pains of going through what we went through in the last video. And we'll get this up in the air and we'll give it a shot. Get this wheel off. I believe it's 19 millimeter. These are on there good. We broke one on the other side. I ordered some new lug nuts though. Come off okay. The other side we had to use the big giant breaker bar. Now first thing we're going to do, we're going to pull the emergency brake. I'm going to get this giant axle nut off. It's 32. I'm going to try it without the emergency brake first. There we go. It does have a little dent in it that locks it on to this dent in the axle, but we've got a new one. Now we got to get the brake caliper and the brake caliper mount off. They're both 14 millimeter. Oh, gee, it's really on there. Well, I'm at a bad angle, I guess. Let's try it this way. Oh, that was there. Before I take it all the way off, I want to give it a twist. And that's going to drive that cup back in so we can get it back on later. Lay it up here out of the way. Got one more bolt in this bracket to get off here. We'll lay this bracket to the side and we'll clean it up in a little bit before we put our new brakes back on. Still looks like it has real good brakes on it. We're going to replace them anyway. Then we got to get this drum off here, this hub. Oh, let me get our hammer. You don't have to use this, but it helps. pressure's running. It never shuts off. See? Now I'm going to take a 10 millimeter and try to get this wheel sensor loose. And I'll start to say it doesn't fit, but it does. You got to be real careful with these, but I don't like to leave them in. Sometimes they won't come out, but you don't want to break it. Just take a just a hammer and extension and just gently tap it. Gently, very gently. And it comes out. Really not much holding it in. It just has these little flanges on the side that holds it in. They thought ahead a little bit on this design. I'm still going to get it out of the way, and we'll have to clean this little opening up that it goes in. We use a split pin with some emery cloth on it to do that. Now the only thing left is, I'm not going to take these brakes off on this side if I can help it. But we've got 4 14 millimeter bolts in the back of this hub that I've got to get out. I believe I'm going to have to move you guys out of the way maybe. Got those 4 bolts out of the back of the hub. They're back here. 2 on either side of the axle. Now that those are out, there they are on the ground. Now we got to push this axle back. I didn't have to hit it with the hammer on this one. I usually use that center punch pin and put it in the center of the axle and it'll drive it back, but this time I can do it with my thumb, so it's already loose. It's not as bad on this side as it was the driver's side. Now for the moment I've all been waiting for. This is the thing I ordered off the internet. I ordered off Amazon, to be precise. Amazon. I'm sorry, I'm smothering to death. But this is a hub knocker, and this is what everybody recommends after the last video that we use. It ain't nothing but just a big heavy lump of steel that goes onto the hub. And it comes with a bag of bolts somewhere that you use with it. It's thick. Hope it's not too thick for the lug nuts, but I believe you got to knock a stud out to use it, but we'll find out. We'll get over here to it in just a second. You don't have to knock a stud out. It just goes right on to. Now we've got to find a bolt that'll fit this. A nut. I could use the old lug nut since I'm going to be putting new ones on anyway. Let me dig around here and see what I can find. Looks like the M12 by 1.25 fits it. But I'm going to find some washers in here. M12 by 1.25 fits this Subaru. I'll put them back in the little bag so we don't get confused next time. I got it on there with some washers. Now the trick is to put this towards the top and give it a whack with a sledgehammer and see if it knocks loose, and then do it again towards the bottom. But I don't know. I've seen them do it several different ways. I'm afraid it's going to break the wheel studs, but we've got a couple more if we do. So I guess we'll give it a shot. Get the camera out of the way here. Felt like something moved. I don't know. I'll have to look back in here and see. Definitely got a gap in it. Nuts are coming loose on it. it moving. Definitely a gap back there. Right down in here. I feel like I need to pull up on it somehow. Kind of hard. Might try putting a jack under this, see if it'll come up. Okay, I've got a jack under the lower control arm to give it a little more, less bounce. It's out, looks like, coming out. Well, I'd like to hammer up on it. Oh, gee, that'll kill you back. That's where it's coming out, but slowly but surely. Yeah, the top's mostly out, but the bottom's not, so I need to pry up on this bottom somehow. I don't have another jack. We'll keep pecking at it. Okay, I put the jack under it on this end, jacked it up, hit it on the hub a little bit, then knocked it down, and then pulled it up again, and I think it's loose. Yes, it's loose. I'm wore out, but I'll tell you what, this was way quicker than what I did the other night. I've been in this probably about 35-40 minutes right now, and it's out. I was 4 hours in the other night and still didn't have it out yet. Well, we really hammered on it, but it did come out. Gotta get this thing off here. This was about 40 bucks, I think, maybe a little more. And they're priced all over the place. And it may have dented it a little bit. I beat this hub up, but it doesn't matter about the hub because that's what we're replacing. So it worked out pretty good. It sure saved some time. This job pays about 1.3 hours, and I think I got about 40 minutes in right now. If I can get it all put back together in the next 30 minutes, it should knock it out as far as the book price goes. Anything over that, and you're losing money. We're not done yet. We've got to get this out of this hub assembly. And the reason I took that sensor out is because when you pull this off, if it pops out, this axle will pop forward and it'll break the tip of that sensor off. So the sensor's out. Looks like there's plenty of grease left on this axle. That's why it came loose so easy. The one on the other side didn't have no grease on it. This one's pretty rusty. So let me see if I can wire wheel it a little bit, get some of this rust off. Gee, she don't want to go. Yes, I hit the camera. It flew out though. Gee, we destroyed that. It must have been bad too, or else I ruined it. Either way, we're replacing it. Ooh, went right in my eyes. Better get some glass. That's an aggressive stone. Oh, it's really rough and nasty in there. I ate some of it. Man, that's rough. I expect the compressor to come on any minute now. Oh, I gotta get the... I forgot to clean the hub out there, or the backing plate. It was really rough. Okay. Little fluid film. Probably don't need to use red Loctite. Probably don't need Loctite at all. I'm just going to put a drop on each one. Come on now, get in there. Well, I'm not getting this lined up for some reason. There we go. I'm just kind of putting these in to hold this faceplate on until I can get my hub. Took me a bit to get it lined up here. I'll have to crawl under there and run these in. Torque these hub assembly bolts to 47.9 foot-pounds. I've got it set on an even 50. Okay. Now I'll clean my fingerprints off. With the provided brake cleaner that comes with the kit from Detroit Axle. Now let's find our rotor. This brake and rotor and hub kit from Detroit Axle for both sides was less than $200. So I think that's a pretty good deal. My camera's not really seeing what's going on here. Now it's time to put the brakes on. I'm just using the old wheel nut and an old lug nut to keep it centered until I get everything cleaned up. This is the main mount that holds your caliper on. And I'm going to get these brakes out of here and clean this up and put new sliders and new pads on. There's these seats cleaned up on the wire wheel. And I'll put the new clips on there. That way they'll set good. If you don't clean these up, when you change your brakes, they'll kind of stick and wear unevenly. These should slide right in nice and easily. If they don't slide right in where your clips is, take the clips out and clean it some more where they sit at. And then put the clips back in. Put a little bit of brake grease under your sliders and on top of your sliders. I guess they're for vibration or something. But make sure these fit nice and the brake pads move freely. If you don't do that, you'll have a headache later. Now that this bracket's on, we've got our brake pads in place. Before I put the caliper on, I want to go ahead and make sure I get this thing back down in there, this wheel sensor. But I didn't clean this out a while ago, I forgot. So let me get something for that. This is just a split cotter key and some emery cloth. So I'm gonna put it down in there and just clean that hole out a little bit where the sensor goes. That should be fine. Now I'll put the sensor back in and replace the 10mm bolt. Then we'll move on to the caliper. See if I've got the caliper pushed in far enough. Just enough. So all I had to do was twist it before I took it off, and it pushed it in just enough for me to get it back on, because the pads were fairly good anyway. Now I do have a brake tool, and you can use a clamp if you need to. But sometimes doing it like I did, just giving it a little twist before you take it off, works just as good. If they're good calipers. Sometimes they're a little stuck. I'm going to tighten these up. Now I'm going to pull the emergency brake. I'm going to replace this axle nut. There's the part number from Subaru. 9021-70049. That's the replacement axle nut for this car. I'm just going to slightly run it in. Alright, now we're going to set our torque wrench to 140 foot-pounds. 140 foot-pounds, 32mm socket. Don't forget to pin this nut over. The nut, there's a slot in the axle, and you want to, of course I just about lined it up under a lug stud, so that's dumb, don't do that. Now we'll try to hammer this down there at an angle. All you want to do is just pin that in. And I should have used a punch. I used a chisel and it just about cut it, but you can use a punch and punch it down in there and lock it. That way it won't roll back off. I'm just going to gently run these lugs in. That way it self-centers. These are little bitty wheel studs and small lug nuts. So you don't want to run them in too much with a torque wrench. I'm going to torque them. And they torque around, I think, 88 foot-pounds on this car. It's not a lot. And I'm going to recheck the other side because I did it last week. Make sure it's still tight. Well, there it is. I don't know how long that actually took, but it was way faster than the other day. I think we're a little over an hour into this, but that's pretty good considering I was way up. I think I went in at 1 in the morning the other night and come back and still spent a couple more hours on it the next day. So, yeah, it took a while. This time it didn't. That hub buster is a real thing, and I recommend it. If you're going to do these Subarus and you live anywhere north of Tennessee, you probably need to have one of those hub busters, because I reckon in Florida they just fall off. But up here, you really, going north, you really gotta have one of those tools. Man, I'm wore out. I'm tired. Well, that's it. The Subaru. This ain't a Subaru part. I mean, it's a hub buster for cars like the Subaru, and it worked good. So I think you can get these at the parts store. You can it's kind of a, you buy it, but you're really renting it. You can take it back, get your money back when you get done with it. It is kind of phallic in appearance, but the thing definitely works. Cockbuster. What was that guy's name off of Jay and Silent Bob? I can't think of his name. It was his name. It was Cock Knocker. Yeah, that's what we'll call this. This is going to be its name. That's what the guy played on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Luke Skywalker played him. Anyway, before I ramble on something else stupid, there's the 2015 Subaru. This will work on different models. I think a lot of the Subarus use the same wheel hub, front and back, so they're similar anyway. So I recommend this thing if you're going to take them off and you think you're going to have trouble, get it in advance. Plan ahead, because I spent a lot of time without the right tools and I couldn't get it off. And I do have a hover, one of those Lyle type hub remover tools, but they recommend that you don't use them on these because it'll break the ears off of your brake mounts. So I wouldn't do that. You might get away with it once, but I wouldn't recommend it. So thanks you guys for watching. I do appreciate you hanging out with me. And stay clean, everybody.